Hello everybody, welcome back to the Young Fan Podcast and welcome to another match reaction for Oxford United. It was an away trip to Fleetwood Town in an attempt to keep our playoff dreams alive, and we do come away with 3 points. After 3 consecutive defeats for Oxford, we do come away winning 3-2, and those fans that travelled a long way to Fleetwood Town can come away happy with the 3 points in the bag. Of course, Oxford still hoping to keep those top 6 dreams alive. Of course, we're breaking the game down tactically. I'll be giving my thoughts on the game as well. I want to hear from you in the comments down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell as well, because that way you'll be always notified when I go live or do a recorded episode just like this one. But let me know in the comments down below. Oxford fans, Fleetwood fans, of course, League One fans as well. I'm sure we'll have a real vary of League One supporters. Let me know in the comments down below. I'll be reading them as I always do and giving my response to all of those comments as I always do as well. Ultimately, though, the game ends 3-2. Like I said, we're going to look at the game in lots of different ways, because I think it's a 3-2 win, and it's a really good win for Oxford because of the form we're recently on, and obviously where we are in the league table as well. We're still in for a chance, and going into this game there was a definite feeling that it was almost win or mathematically bust ultimately. And we come away, and I'm happy with the result, ultimately. I am happy with it. And for the majority of the game, I thought our performance was really good as well. There were moments where I thought we looked a little bit nervous, we looked a little bit tired, which is a little bit strange. But I can also understand the nerves. You know, you've got to remember this Oxford United side are off the back of 3 defeats, and especially at 3-2. You can see why there is a sense of nerves there. But we started the game brilliantly well. You know, talk about having a good start, and that's one thing that I don't think we can be too critical of as Oxford United fans. Starting the games, quickly, starting the game strong. You know, it's a classic managers and coaches saying, isn't it? Start the game strong, start the game causing the opposition problems. And Oxford United did exactly that. Within the first sort of 14, 15 minutes of the game, we're 3-0 up. I mean, it was almost pinch yourself stuff. Ultimately, we're being 3-0 up away on the road. Although Fleetwood aren't having the best of seasons at all, they're still fighting for relegation. I believe they are now. In the relegation zone with a defeat. They were going into the game just outside it, only out of it with their positive or better goal difference than the teams around them. A defeat today does mean they do slip back into that bottom 4. But ultimately, they started the game, and you looked at Fleetwood, you thought you can see where they are, really. You can see exactly the position that they're in based on the performance. They did start the game really slow. They looked like they didn't really start the game woken up, ultimately, in the best way possible. And Oxford took advantage of that, and that's what you really hope that a side can Oxford can do. And the top-level sides are able to do that. When the opposition don't come out the block straight away and don't really, come out with their groove on, ultimately, Oxford can take advantage, and the top teams can take advantage of that. And thankfully, Oxford United took that mentality on, really, and did start the game really strong. Nathan Holland scored a goal. It was unchanged Oxford United side from the side that lost to Sunderland on Saturday. Nathan Holland, a player probably arguably lucky to be in that starting 11, didn't really have his best game against Sunderland, but Oxford and Carl Robinson gave him that opportunity again today to put those doubters in the bed ultimately, and he did come on. He did start the game, and he did sort of almost do that with that goal. A little bit quiet after that. That's why I say almost, but still, he took his goal really well. The second goal comes from Brannagan. Exactly what I said on the podcast last week. Just take a shot, take a punt. It doesn't have to be a beautiful goal every single time, and Cameron Brannagan does do that in the second goal and scores. It's a really important second goal. There's a big chance of Billy Bodin after that, and then he misses it, and then Billy Bodin gets another chance, a really good header, and I believe it's that 17th minute, 16th minute of the game, it makes it 3-0. And then at 3-0, Fleetwood wake up, and that's when they sort of get themselves into gear. They start the game really slow. They start the game really not getting going. You can see, Oxford United fans, you can sort of, a lot of people will be watching that game, you go, that's probably why Fleetwood are where they are, really fighting at the bottom of the end of the League One table. And then they wake up, and then they look like a mid-table side. Then they look like a really good, I mean, even I'd say higher. I'd probably argue a little bit higher than that. You look at a side really fighting after that and really waking up and really get going. They go into the next gear. And they look lively. They look really lively, and they're starting to cause Oxford United problems. The one thing you would say with Fleetwood as well is that Harrison up front, Ellis Harrison, he looked brilliant in this Fleetwood side. He was a player that I think if they didn't have him, I think Stephen Kidderburgh said it on commentary, they didn't have Harrison, I think that this game would have been completely different, because he looked like he got the players going. He looked like he took the game by the scruff of the neck, and he got the players and got the Fleetwood players really going. The penalty in the end from a handball from Sam Long, a little bit silly. It looks as though his hands was up in the air, straight up in the air, and the referee was sort of given with no choice but to give the penalty. And then Ellis Harris then converts the penalty. I think what's really important, the thing that that Fleetwood did that I was really impressed with was when they sort of woke up and they got going in the game. They took advantage of that. And very, very easily, teams can not start the game very, very well, then have a spell, but you're already 3-0 down, and then not really believe that, we've got going. Yes, we're ready to take the game on, but we're 3-0 down. On the back of your mind, you're always thinking, we're 3 goals down here. Can we really be bothered ultimately to go again? And if we do have a bit of a wave and we don't make the most of it, you go, we're 25 minutes into this game. We've had a bit of a go, but we're 3-0 down, boys. Is there even not is there even a point? But is there within yourselves? You're going to be able to get going again. You got to get your players really going again, and then try and start another attack and start another move. And fair play to Fleetwood, they're able to do that, and they really reaped the benefits for it. Ultimately, they got the penalty, they converted the penalty, and it's 3-1. At that point of the Oxford United, we weren't great in that great period. I got to be honest. I thought when we went to 3-1, I thought we need to get a reaction. We then scored a goal just after half time, didn't we, to make it 4-1? And then the referee, the linesman had his flag up. The referee disallows it. The officials disallow it for offside on Matty Taylor. I have to have a look at that. It looks as though it may have been onside, but ultimately it didn't count. But, it was one of those where you get to half-time 3-1, and for the last 20 minutes, it looked as though from body language-wise that Carl Robinson wasn't happy with his Oxford United players. You can sort of see why. It was a 3-0, and then we sort of tried to sort of manage the game out without really going for it and try and see if we can keep the game quite tight, get to half-time 3-0 up, and you say, very, very good first half. Although I'd say it was a really good first half. We're 3-1 up. We dominantly, for the first 20 minutes, I thought we were absolutely tremendous. It was the Oxford United side of old, really. When you look at the start of the season, or for the majority of the season, really, the Oxford United side that we saw before this sort of losing run we find ourselves on, the free-flowing, sort of free. The three Oxford United players that were almost had that ability to just go and express themselves. And that's the Oxford United side that we've been so blessed to see and that have been so successful, ultimately. And that's what I really like about Oxford United under Carl Robinson. It's that attacking, it's that free-flowing style of play. And that's what we saw in the first 20 minutes. The second 20 minutes of the game, we allowed Fleetwood to get into a groove a little bit, like I said. We allowed them to wake up. And again, they reap the benefits of waking up and getting back into the game. It goes into 3-1. And at half-time, you go 3-1. They end the half probably on top, you should say, and you then have to go into a second half. You have to start strong. Oxford try and do that, and the goal gets chalked off. And then I thought the second half, this is what I mean about Oxford feeling a little bit nervous. We felt a little bit on edge. As fans are certainly on edge, but the players looked a little bit on edge as well. They had a chance cleared off the line at one point. Some say it was over the line. From what I saw, I don't think it was. I think it was just cleared off the line from Kieran Brown. But it looked as though we looked a little bit tired at points, but we looked a little bit, ultimately, I'll reiterate again, it looked a little bit nervous, and you can see why. Remember, this is an Oxford United side that have lost 3 games on the trot. We've conceded goals like Sunderland in the last minutes of the game, and you can see that morale is, they understand the importance of it. They understand that if they can come away with this game winning 3-2, although results don't go their way, they won't know that when they're playing, of course, on the pitch, but even now, you can see why. If you draw that game, especially with the results that didn't go Oxford United's way, this season is absolutely almost mathematically over. Although we're no real further forward in terms of points, a win is massive. It keeps us alive. And ultimately, I think Jerome Sales something brilliant. The season is alive for another week at Oxford United. You go into Tuesday still with it possible. Of course, you've got Sheffield Wednesday playing tomorrow, and again, MK Dons, they've got to try and do us a favour against Sheffield Wednesday. But ultimately, you go into MK Dons on Tuesday and it's still alive. And you can see why the nerves are going to be there a little bit, because the players are hanging on. And to be fair to Fleetwood, they were really good in the second half. When they kept coming at Oxford, they tried to cause us problems. We had to put our bodies on the line at one point. I think McNally had a few blocks I thought was actually tremendous, with the block where the ball came over, and it was an absolutely, it looked like he had a lot of time, the Fleetwood man, to take a shot. And then a really, really good block from McNally. I thought the second goal, and we will come on to that second goal, I thought there's a question to maybe Jack Stevens saying that it was a foul on him. Either way, he tries to go for it. He sort of half commits, which is a little bit frustrating for Jack Stevens. But he's definitely arguing there's a foul on there. And again, it all happened quite quickly, I won't lie. He's saying it's a foul. Some are saying that it could even been a penalty where he wiped him out. Ultimately, neither happened, and it almost went through Jack Stevens, and then it sort of rebounds off, and the man ultimately puts it into an open net in the end, and it's 3-2. And then that's where we sort of go. The players go, we were 3-0 up. It's now 3-2, and we've got a little bit at the moment of a track record of not being as ruthless in game management as we can be, and as we should be in the dire moments of games. Then a really sort of horror head injury between the Fleetwood defender and James Henry. We hope he's okay. He came off with a really looked like a bleeding eye socket in the area, but looks like a head injury more than anything, a concussion substitution. Marcus McGuane comes on. I actually thought in injury time we looked a little bit better in controlling the game. They had a few sort of chances. I mean, I say that actually. I mean, we were defending well in terms of managing the game. It wasn't brilliant, but I thought in terms of defending, I thought we were okay, and I thought we were we're good in the end. We didn't concede in the 9 minutes added on that was given, and that was important. If you're not going to manage the game very well, just don't concede. That's going to be the answer. Although it's nervy for us, I'm sure it's absolutely petrifying for the players. It looked a little bit nervous for the players and nervy for the lads. Ultimately, it's one of those where you go, we didn't manage the game very well, but we won the game, so we won't worry about it. And we didn't concede. And that should be the message from Carl Robinson. He won't be overly pleased with aspects of the performance, I can imagine. His body language suggests at moments in the game he was really quite frustrated, very annoyed with some of the wingers. I think it was Holland and Sykes that weren't tracking back, and the fullbacks were overloaded on the flanks for Fleetwood, and they really causing Oxford problems down the left and the right-hand side. Thought Sam Long had an okay game. He gave the ball away. He gave away the penalty, should I say. Gave the ball away a few times. That's what I meant to say. I meant to say he gave the penalty away. Again, it looked like it was handball. You look at Kieran Brown. I thought Kieran Brown had a really good game as well, and I said it to the people I was watching the game with. Really impressive, Kieran Brown. In those recent weeks, I know he got man of the match against Sunderland last week. Been really impressive, Kieran Brown. He's not the most attractive fullback in the sense that he bombs up and down the left and right, left-hand side, or the right-hand side, whichever he's playing, prominently on that left-hand side, and he whips a few balls in the box every now and again, and he puts in some Robertson-esque balls into the penalty area. And he's the most lively, like I said, most attractive fullback in the modern game. He's not one of those players, and I don't mind it. Also, I don't really mind it at all. I know Robinson does like to have those sort of players, and ultimately Kieran Brown isn't that. You can see he's played centre-back for a lot of his career. You can see it centre-back is probably where the left side of centre-back of a back three is normally where we see Kieran Brown, but him playing as left-back in a back four, I don't mind it at all. He's an absolutely ball-winning 100% player, one of those lads that will give absolutely everything, and his work rate and his resilience, his determination to win every single ball as a defender, I think is absolutely phenomenal. So really impressed with Kieran Brown. I thought again today, he's not the modern fullback that maybe Carlson has seen over the years with Josh Ruffles, with the likes of Chris Cadden, if you remember him, Sam Long, other players we've seen as those more modernised fullbacks. But him as a left back, I don't mind it at all. Very, very strong, and he wins as many balls as he can, and most balls he can. He's got a really good successful rate, I believe. I don't need to look at the stats for that, but I can tell by the eye he's got a really, really good rate when it comes to just winning balls and the success he has in doing that. So really impressive, Kieran Brown once again. Thought Moore and McNally had a decent game. I know they concede two, and again we say it. You're not going, and this is exactly what I meant last week. And I'm not going to moan too much because we win the game 3-2. But you can't get away with winning games 3-2 every single time. We learnt it the hard way last week. You can see 2 goals. If you're going to win the game, Oxford this season, you've almost got to score 3, and that is so annoying. It can be so annoying, and we saw how frustrating it was last week when you would lose 2-1. And we don't take our chance. We don't take enough shots, and we're not as clinical in the box, in the attacking box, and in the penalty area. And you go away and you go. We can see 2 goals, not great defensively. Again, as a unit, not great last week, and you lose the game 2-1. Today, you can see 2 goals, but thankfully, the attackers are on form, and we go and win the game 3-2. It's not a moan, really. It is a little bit. It's not, it's constructive criticism, ultimately, and a lesson that's got to be learned. You won't be able to win these sort of games all the time. MK Dons will not allow you, if you concede 2 goals, MK Dons are going to be a real struggle because, again, they're a very attacking side and they'll be on the front foot as much as they can. And, again, they're not defensively weak at all. So there's going to be a real test on Tuesday. But I'm up for it. I'm sure the players are up for it as well. Hopefully, MK Dons can do us a favour against Sheffield Wednesday tomorrow. Ultimately, Shrewsbury, they got back to 2-2. They lost in the end, and that's a big goal for Sunderland winning that 3-2. And as for Wycombe, Plymouth couldn't do us a favour either. They lost to Wycombe, 2-0 at Home Park. Not Home Park. That's where Plymouth play, isn't it? That's where Plymouth play. I've got that right. I've got it wrong. I've got the stadiums wrong. It was away, wasn't it? For Plymouth, it was at Wycombe. So they do lose the game either way 2-0, wherever it was. So ultimately, it's frustrating. The results didn't go away, but happy that Oxford United got back to winning ways. They got the win in the end. And again, it was a nervy watch. It was a tough watch at times, but we stuck strong. We blocked. We defended well. Maybe we're being really picky. We could have been a little bit better in areas in terms of managing the game a little better. A few sloppy sloppy moments in the game, but much better going forward, and we win the game 3-2. Not a great result for Fleetwood, who continue their relegation battle, but for Oxford, the dream is still alive. Is it going to be a miracle? It might have to be. But ultimately, it's not mathematically over. We can still keep pushing and we can still keep hoping. Oxford United win on the road. Back to winning ways. They beat Fleetwood 3-2. For the first time, I believe, at Fleetwood in the history of that stadium. Interesting fun fact for you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Of course, my match week 43 roundup, looking at the whole weekend of League One. Actually, I'll be out on Sunday, as usual, but it's Friday, so it'll be out on Sunday, because of course we've got the games tomorrow. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Jack. This has been the Young Fan Podcast. Take care, stay safe. I'll see you all very, very soon. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Remember, leave your thoughts in the comments down below. I'll see you all very, very soon. See you in a bit.